Is the TK0 team out here?
I see two of them, yes.
Okay.
Hi,
All
hello.
right.
Hi there. Hey,
Hello, guys.
Simon, hi. Who else?
Hi.
Hey, hi.
We have
Hey,
just
guys.
joined, all three of us.
Excellent.
All
Guys,
right, then let's
calls
do
I've
it.
worked many times in contests. Excellent. Glad to see you guys could make it and support us here.
Many familiar
Rudy's-
calls here.
Rudy set this up. And any of you guys going to be to the ham convention over in Dayton this year?
Not in plan.
Okay. All right. Well, nice to meet you all. You got stuff to share on your screen?
We do.
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you
Just
take it
before we
away?
go, I would like to
Go ahead.
bring some context behind this session. I know it was labeled as the expeditions or something like that, but the reason the team has been on my radar screen for a couple of years is very simple. I believe that what they do year after year is the best of ham radio, right? It is station engineering at its best, and we're going to learn a lot about this today when it comes to in-band operations. I believe this is one of the best examples of teamwork. I don't know if you have been following their evolution, but initially they started as a multi-single team, which frankly takes an extreme level of coordination and trust in each other to make it work without stepping on each other's toes. And last but not least, strategy. Now they have evolved since then, but I do believe that the essence of their team is still there. And I thought that they would be a great team to teach us a thing or two here at YCCC.
Excellent.
Thanks for the kind words, Rudy. We are just fresh from Charlie Radio 3 Alpha. So thank you if you worked us in WPX this weekend. And yeah, it's I hope it will be interesting story for all of us.
Yes. Thanks for introduction. Let me just share. Okay, just to show you what we're going to talk about. A short, just agenda, right? A short agenda. So it's what was that? First few minutes will be a TK0 Charlie story by S55OO by Goran. Then I'll put some words about the in-band. Then Simon will present his SH6 tool, very fine tool for analyzing contest logs. And then at the end, I'll talk about the how to doing this in-band, which I changed the terminology to it as a 1BSIQ, as a one-band interleaved QS, so synchronized interleaved QS. So I will explain why is that like that. So Gordon, can you please start?
I'll try to share it. Okay. I think it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so hi everybody from our team. I'm Goran, S55OO, and ham since 92. Very first contest operated back in 92, and then from then on many QRV in many contests, and from HF, VHF and up, all started in our radio club locally. Okay, let me see. Is it changing? No. Okay. Yeah, YU3 Charlie Alpha Bravo was the club station call, and they were QRV back from 1957. Later on, they got YU3 Charlie. That's the the time when I came to the club as well. And first, it all started with activities from our local mountain hilltop, which is 1,500 meters above the sea level. And most of the time they were QRV in the summer. They went portable and operated from the tents. But then decided our predecessor that they will build a small wooden house on the top of the mountain, and later on also one quite big tower of 35 meters. Everything was held by hands to the peak top for around 200 meters, I would say. And so this Charlie activity began back then in 80s and 90s. We got Sugar 50 Charlie later on in 92. And we made quite a lot of VHF contests, but also some HF activity was started from there. I remember I worked WPX in 93, where we walked for almost 5 hours to the mountain and put just some inverted V's. But had to stop earlier the contest because there was so much snow, and the way down was also difficult that we joined the people from the another hill. They were there as well, so we went down together. But it was still fun. Later on, we find out that these activities from the crazy winter places, it's not really in favor to us, and we decided let's try to go somewhere else to see what we can do. And word gave word, and we went for our very first the expedition back in 2014. But we went to different island. We went to Sardinia. It was a single van operation with 5 of us. And we grabbed all the equipment we had available at the club and drove for a whole day. Took a ferry for a night, and had a week of ham radio fun. And we made 5,800 QSOs, but that was just enough to be 18th in Europe. But we got this the expedition ham radio back, and from there on, it really just evolved. When we came home, we quite early start to chase for another location and gather all our ideas what would be better to do. And in 2015 we got more power of triops. They are two two of them were from the club, and Simon joined us for the very first time as well. So we were still using SV. We thought that this is a good compromise. We still had most of the antennas on the fiberglass. No Yagis at that time, so the only wire Yagi was the spider beam. But later on, we find out that this antenna is kind of useful just for the spare, or for the in-band. I mean for the second antenna. I will explain a bit later. So Since 2015, like I mentioned, we are going to Corsica for 12 years. So we skip it twice, once due to the COVID. And in 2023, when we were invited to operate from Delta Fort Charlie, this was one of the most interesting operations as well, since it was the double mult operation and also the 3-point DX operation outside of Europe, which we are not very used to do. So like from there on, we were quite successful in all the operations we made. We can really say that we beat almost all the multi records in Europe. Also, we held one multi-2 rate record worldwide with almost 600 QSOs in a single hour. But there are still few to beat, and we are trying to do it. This is the team which was with us in a D4 Charlie trip. And after D4 Charlie, we were quite spoiled, since it was a really nice operation, not the record one, but anyhow, we made a lot of contacts. But we decided to go back to Tango Kilo Zero Charlie on the year 24 and 25, and we were quite good. But as we try every year to make something new, the last years we introduced this magic wheel for the cables. HI, and we also lately use noise cancelling headphones, which is really nice to have. But these are just the little tiny things which we try to put into the operation. But the main thing, like Rudy already mentioned, is that having so many people involved, I calculated when I prepared a bit for this meeting, that we are now altogether being 16 Slovenian guys in all these years, but the core is around 7 to 8 are most of the time the same. Sometimes somebody has to skip. We have also very good contact relations with local guys, especially with the TK5EP Patrick, who was also taking care of our license, and also other guys which we were able to meet in those years. And what else to say? Like I mentioned before, we now moved to small Yagis for the higher bands. Like I said, we used to have spider beam, but because due to the very strong winds, which could be, it's the antenna is too light, and sometimes we had problems because the wires got together, and then we had the SWR problem, or it was very problematic when the salt gathered on the wires, and it started to how to say, actually a few of the isolators burnt, and then we lost the whole element of the Yagi, and then we rather put this small 3 to 5 element Yagis on the aluminium towers. It's worth to say that whatever you saw on a few of these pictures, we bring with us. It's usually now taken with two vans and a single car. So around 12 people last operation was driven in these 3 cars with all the cargo and everything what is installed is everything what is installed in 2 days prior to the contest is then reinstalled on Monday morning. We need usually around 6 hours, and then we take everything home. Nothing is left on the island except 2 screws that I know are hidden somewhere on the rocks. I would like to thank everybody for the QSOs you made in our previous operations. This is the list of the 6 banders from the last year, and many Americans are also in it. So thank you to everybody, whether is that a single QSO or will be a QSO next time, and also for the 6 banders. So this is a short presentation regarding the operation which we took every year in Corsica, and I'd like to say that we really like it, and probably that this year we will go again. So now I can
Yeah, I see at least 3 participants here on the list: K1, K1, K1RX, K1 TZQ. Maybe there are others of 6 banders for the last year.
This list always amazes me. So almost 600 6-band QSOs. This is really an achievement.
Well, this proves that 160 works very well, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my part, I would say.
Okay, so let me jump on the first part of my presentation. Does it work? Okay, so the main goal of TK0 Charlie operation was always to make more QSOs than anybody else. So we are not, we're in Europe, so we can't really compete with the points, with the 3-point locations. So we set ourselves a goal of if we cannot make so many points because of the rules, how they are set, let's make more QSOs than anybody else in the world. And in most of the contests, we achieved this goal. And when we started to ask ourselves, how can you improve the number of QSOs? You of course you look at all 3 resources which you have. One is the available participants, which are spread over the world, but they are not so spread, right? So we have 2 active centers. One is in North America, the other is Europe. And then you have limited frequency band available with the rule that you can only CQ on 1 frequency channel. And then there's a time to it, right? And the time, if you look precisely, we use less than half of the time for transmit and a bit more than of available time for receive, because our type of communication is TDD, right? It's time division duplex. And then looking into this, you can realize that actually we are not using the time efficiently enough, I would say, right? Or traditionally, or we would be using it traditional way, but how can we deploy or how can we use this time more efficiently? Right? That was the question, the quest. And we were not the first team that asked this question. This is just to remind, I will touch on this point later. So And then with the first time we presented our way of operation was in 2017 here locally for Slovenian ham radio community. And then in 2018, 2019, we learned a lot. We did some improvements, we made changes. And then we made the first, let's say, wide presentation in 2022 in the ISTRA conference meeting. And then there was my article in New Contest Journal in 2023. And so we tried to make this way of operation, the inbound way of operation, more understood by everybody. And only lately I realized that this inbound is, the terminology inbound is creating a lot of confusion. And what is the confusion? Because everybody was aware of inbound operation, right? And I was talking to guys to experience contest, and they were saying, yeah, well, of course, we're using it for 40 years, right? And that's not the inbound we are talking about exactly. So the inbound as known for 40 years is something where you Corsica on one frequency, and then you find a station on another frequency, you stop operating on your run frequency, you make a QSO on that another frequency, and then you return to your run frequency. This can be two stations, two operators, and so on. And this is a classical way of inbound as understood. You would be using one antenna, and when you would make an inbound QSO, so not on the run frequency, you would be stealing the antenna from the run operator. You could, in some cases, you would have a receive-only antenna for the inbound, so that you could be receiving better than in these periods where you were deaf during the run transmit periods. But in any case, you would not be using the time more efficiently than if you would be just doing run, CQ run periods. So what we are talking here, it's actually kind of what is better known for the single op operators, like two bands synchronous interleaved QSOs, right? I guess most of you have heard about this technique. There are a few operators in the world that can do it. You run on two bands, on two frequencies, just interleaved, synchronously interleaved. You transmit on one channel and receive simultaneously on the other band, and then vice versa. Now, this is allowed for single op operators. For multi-op operations, of course, what we are talking here is about, as I gave it a new term, is one band synchronized interleaved QSO, which means that run operator operates in run frequency with its own rhythm, with its own period, and then you have a bunch of in-band stations. You could have infinite number of them, of course, but it's not feasible, right? Which listen at offset frequencies from the run frequency, and they try to synchronize to the rhythm of the correspondent station, and then squeeze in their transmission while the run is receiving, right? It's the same kind of operation like for 2BSIQ, but in this case, it's a single, you do it in a single band. So what's the difference in the setups, right? 2BSIQ setup, you have two radios, two amplifiers, two bandpass filters, high power or low power, and then two antennas on two different frequency bands. While if you go the single band SIQ, you would normally have run transceiver, in-band transceiver. You only need one power amplifier because you're only allowed to transmit one signal at a time. You have some switching gears here, a very simple one, so that you can switch one or the other transceiver to the same PA, and then two different antennas. One antenna is for run and one for in-band work, and it's used for transmit and for receive at the same time. So when at some point we said, let's try how does it look if we put two in-band stations, right? If you put two in-band stations, You have 3 sets of antennas, run in-band 1, in-band 2, run RTX in-band 1, in-band 2 with modified box, which switches 3 transceivers to 1 transmitter, to 1 PA, and to 3 antennas, and see whether how much can be improved by going 2 in-bands, right? In the previous slide, I said you could have infinite in-bands, but infinite in-bands, it means you need to have infinite antennas if you want them to be completely independent. Going beyond 2, it's I would say it's impossible with the current constraints of the contest rules of 500 meters. If you want to don't have interference between them, we'll talk about this later. So a comparison of 2 BSIQ to 1 BSIQ, okay? So 1 BSIQ is for multi-operators category and 2 BSIQ is single op all bands. And if you check the operating skills for multi-op version, it's easy. It's really nothing special. I'm sure that everybody that is a keen HF contest operator would learn in 15 minutes or 30 minutes how to operate in this mode. While 2 BSIQ, that's a very, very hard thing. It's very, very hard, and only few ops in the world are capable of running 2 BSIQ efficiently. Efficiently meaning you really take care of this additional time resource which you use for making QSOs. Now you need good transceiver, that's easy. Some kind of hardware interlock and switching and whatever, that's also easy, straightforward, nothing special. Maybe you can't buy it on the web, but it's nothing special. And then the antenna isolation is the 4th part. And here, the 2 BSIQ is easy, right? Nothing special. Again, you can use 1 antenna, a triplexer, and bandpass filter. It's nothing special, really. But for 1 BSIQ, this is very hard part of it, right? The antenna isolation is very hard, and I'll show later why this is so. Okay, so we always ask ourselves how much more QSOs can we do with this 1 BSIQ mode of operation. It is try to present where do we end with the numbers, right? We said that at least for us, right, in Corsica, the 180 QSO per hour average rate in 48 hours, right, in the complete contest is possible now. It's achievable number. And we also know that with 2 in-band stations, we can make 120 QSOs per hour. So 220 can be picked up anywhere in that band. Although the 2 in-bands would have the same time resources available, you can't really go to 180 because you need to synchronize to the transmission period of your correspondent with the RX period of your run station. So not every correspondent can be called immediately because there is some it can be out of phase, right? So there's some time loss due to that. But 120 QSO rate for in-band is possible. We proved this in Corsica a few times. Now this altogether is 300 QSOs per hour. Okay, if you're a multi-single, 300 QSOs per hour in 48 hours is 14,000 QSOs because there's always at least 1 band open. Multi-2, I'm saying it would be, there are always 2 bands open. And if I count 1, 6, and 8 as 1 band, because 160 is special in case, in sense of reaching the other continents, and also the antennas are large, not so many participants. So if we count 106 and 8 as 1 band, right, you get for multi-2 24K QSOs. Multi-multi would be 5 times multi-single divided by 2 because each band is open half of it. That's, it's just kind of approximation. It would depend on different locations of in the world when you operate and so on. But that would yield 36K QSOs. Now, if you look into this, you'll say, "Oh, that's a joke. It's impossible, right?" So from the operating skills point of view, it's possible. So we could in multi-multi do 36K QSOs. It's really not nothing special to run 180 and 120 here. The problem, of course, is that if you would like to make that kind of score or number of QSOs, you need to have 120 stations calling CQ on your band every hour. Every hour, 120 new stations that we have to call CQ, right? And this is something we know it's not going to happen because there are not so many participants. So this calculation is false. And the preconditions to approach these numbers, of course, beside enough stations calling CQ, you need to have some good propagation on all the bands, excellent participation, and your in-band antenna needs to be good in-band antennas, as good as RAN is. You would like to have them as good or slightly worse than RAN antennas. You can't go in-band operation by some wire somewhere hanging, and because then you will just work the big guns. Now, if we go now to the more realistic calculation, right? We say it's 180 on average in 48 hours, and based on the experience of TK0C operation, we know that 30% in multi-single, 30% on in-band is possible and achievable. So this would yield 11.2 thousand QSOs. Then multi-2 is multiplied by 1.7, those 5/6 bands, 19K QSOs, and multi-multi is 2.5 times multi-single, which yields 28K QSOs. Now, if you look how do we stand today? So in CW contest, the multi-single number of QSOs is 11.2. It's exactly as given here, for example. It was in 2017, even not in a solar maximum. In Europe, so we 2 years back in multi-single, we were almost at 11K QSOs. Multi-2, 15K CR3A last year. We are 14K in 2022. And then multi-multi is 23,000 QSOs CN2A in 2014. And last year we made 18K from Corsica. And if you look at the percentages of in-band QSOs over the all QSOs, right? You can see some interesting numbers. If I first focus on our score here, so it's 26% of in-band for multi-single, 21 for multi-2, and 21 for multi-multi. And we believe that multi-2 should be a bit higher. It was in 2022 when we only made, I think, about 800 QSO in 10 meters, so it was not well-opened band. But in the world part of it, you can see the EF8R, they had 22% of in-band QSO, so this must have been an interleaf in-band QSO type of operation for sure. CR2A last year, it's not a real in-band. It's in-band, it's not really 1B SIQ. And multi-multi of 10 years back, I believe this was a true 1B SIQ type of operation. And if you look at the 2025 year results, multi-multi top 5 in number of QSO. So that's not top 5 in the score, in the final score. We're just counting the number of QSOs, right? And you can see our number here, 18K, with 21 in-band, and then CN3A, which won the contest, but they made almost 800 QSOs less because they are not using in-band. They don't know about in-band. If they would be using in-band, they should cross 20K, for example. CR3 Whiskey, the same story. ZF5T, the same story. ES9C, they have some in-band capability there. You look multi-2 last year. Again, you can find stations which do invest in single band IO4X or PJ4K, 9A1P as well. For the others, it's some mix or some mix, right? Multi-single, Lima Zulu 5 radio, 28% in-band, which is a high number. And it's clear that this is a synchronized interleaved QSO type of operation. PJ4A, I don't know. E7DX, I know they have one BSIQ, OM7M as well. ED8X, no in-band, you could say. I also, oops, sorry. Sorry.
While Robi is searching for the presentation, guys, we have not mentioned, if you have any questions, just feel to jump in. And
right. I forgot to say, if you can interrupt me anytime.
Yeah.
Okay, then I also took top 5 US stations in the number of QSOs last year, like KC1XX, multi. They made 10K and 21%, so it's clear they know what they're doing. K3LR as well. The LPL multi to 22%. You can't do 22% with just stealing the run frequency time. NR4M and MP3Y, it's a different story. So what I wanted to say is that this one BSIQ is not something that TK0C would invent. So that was, I guess, probably the first team that introduced this was Papa 33 Whiskey in 2011. And part of that team is from RU1A as well. And then Jose, CT1BOH, actually, while developing his 2 BSIQ, he was using or teaching or observing various methods, and one of them was also CR3A multi-single operation from 2014 from this CR3DX location where they used in-band seriously, like this interleaved in-band seriously. So it's not that this would be unknown or something new, it's just that it's not, as I see it, was not presented. And maybe the reason was because those stations thought of it like kind of competitive advantage to have this kind of knowledge or how to do it and hide it for themselves, which we don't consider fair in our sport, because our sport is, our competitions are really fun, actually. There are very funny competitions that you actually compete with yourselves. So, well, now I try to make that just a brief understanding what this kind of one BSIQ can bring you, right? If you look at the category, it depends on which category you operate. If you're multi-single, you will gain the most. Multi-2, something in between, multi-multi is the less. Reason is obvious, right? As multi-multi, you're active on all the bands all the time, while as multi-single, you share this time per band. And when you come to the band, you have a new band, you have a lot of stations calling CQ, which you can work with in band. Otherwise, you would not be able to do them. But then it depends, right? If you're a unique multiplier, like TK0C, we are a unique multiplier, actually. CN3A is unique, right? D4C is unique double multiplier. Now, the guys from Canary Islands or Madeira, they can be unique multipliers, but lately not really, right? So if you're unique, then these rates or the percentage will go down because you're already interested for many stations to call you, and you will benefit from that. The same goes for the location. If you're in good location, like in Madeira, or then you have bands open for a lot of time. You have good propagations in both centers where there's a majority of activity, and again, you will gain less with in-band. Now, if you're like ordinary EU station or US station, you're not a multiplier, so you're not for Oscar or I don't know, Charlie 3 or HB0, I don't know, unique multiplier in Europe. So you will just go up with these percentages. And we saw numbers from some EU stations for the in-band being 35%, for example. So it does bring more QSOs. And if you do more QSOs, then you do you get more points. And here I will stop now my part, and I will invite Simon to show some of the capabilities of his SH6 tool for analyzing the QSOs, to analyze the contest logs, where we took out all those in-band percentages, which would otherwise be hard to find.
As you thank you, Robi. As you see, the important part of our analysis, and Robi, I think you will continue with the tips and tricks, right? So the guys will get the feeling about actually how to do it, because currently we are just at the theoretical level. So as you see, a big part of our success, I think, is the understanding of the competition and understanding how others do it and how to adjust to this. And therefore, we developed this SH6 tool. I'm pretty sure everybody knows SH5, which is a Windows app, and it's not available anymore. Therefore we do it here. It's available on this URL s53mig.com/hs6, so anybody can load it. And actually it goes like this. You decide whether to upload your log, any ADIF or CBR or whatever you have, or you decide, for example, that you'll search something from the archives. And there are actually 2.2 million logs available from all sorts of the contests. RL, CQ, WPX, worldwide, some European contests, VHF, many and more are coming. So as I said, 2.2 million logs. And for example, if we are at TK0C, you enter the call sign and you see which logs are available for this call sign. So I will load the latest one. So you just select it in this tree, and now the QSOs are loaded from that repository. So you get some basic information, some basic summaries. You can see the log, all 19,000. You can see some operators. So basically many stuff. Also, what we pride a lot in our operation is the best rate per hour. So if you will see in the last entry, which was multi last year, we made 800 QSOs in 1 hour, and it still amazes me, because when I started the first contest, I think I operated for 24 hours and I made 700 QSOs, and now we make 800 an hour. So if you click on that, you can see the QSOs. It was actually first afternoon from 16 Zulu to 70 Zulu, so QSO 9,000 and something.
So is this free to use for anybody?
Yeah, this is free to use. Just go to s53mig.com/hs6 and it's there. It's available, yeah.
Yeah, very good. I use SH5, but as you say, it's no longer supported or available.
Yeah. Just go ahead. You're welcome to use it, and I would be also happy to receive any feedback or any ideas for improvement.
Cool. And
you'll see it goes much deeper than this. I don't want to go on all the menus. So you have points. Actually, this is a interesting thing to show. We don't work QSOs, actually. We work points, right? Because you get the score from points. So you have the points by hour, by, I don't know. And then you also have this run versus SP versus in-band. And the tool actually calculates the statistical calculation from the Cabrillo, because it doesn't know which station operated, but it can calculate if the station was running and if the station was also working other stations on the same band. And the calculation, the estimate is quite okay. So then you have some okay, this content.
Maybe Sava, if you can just explain the difference between the in-band and S&P.
Yeah, S&P is when you search and pounce on the band, but there is no running station active. So like maybe the runner is away or runner is not, and you just pick and work the stations. And inbound is actually active, search and pounce while the runner is operating. So this one BCQ that Robi was explaining.
For example, in multi-single, if you would be making multipliers on other bands, this would count under S&P, not as an in-band, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So in-band is, as the name says, in-band. Yeah. What is also interesting for me here is this graph. So this is on the x-axis is the time. You have the frequencies here, and you see, for example, let's go to 40 meter band. So the runner was active all the time, right? And this tree, or how should we call it, the noise around the frequency, these are all in-band QSO. So we can see the runner switch frequency here, and you can very easily, I'll show you this later, compare yourself to others. Here you can see the main headings where the main QSOs or main points come from. And okay, let me. I prepared to show you some comparisons. I prepared logs from CQW WSSB 25, some calls from YCCC, and a competitive one, W3LPL, and you can actually compare pretty easily. And I'll show you how you do it. Let's go back to the start. So before we went to the log selection, and I was only going to archive and select one. So let's select, for example, 3 now. So log A will be KC1XX, and I'll select 25 CW. Okay, we have the log 1. Sorry?
I was there. I was the 80 meter, one of the 2 80 meter ops, one of the 3 80 meter ops.
I chose well then. And then let's go to W3LPL. So this is log B. Let's select the same contest. And the third one should be which one? Maybe K1 Lima Zulu. But I think he didn't operate
K3LR.
K3LR. Okay, let's do this one. Yeah. Yeah. So now already we have some basic comparisons, and then, for example, in log view, it's all 3 are big. You have the logs side by side. So you have log A, log B, and log C, and they are split by 10 minutes. So for example, see, there is a limit of first 10 minutes. So K3LR worked 110 QSOs in first 10 minutes, and the others were not so fast. So I found this view very, very nice to compare yourself. You see, it's always split by 10 minutes, always divided by 10 minutes. And also, if you go, for example, to QSO by hour sheet, you have all 3 logs. And this is quite a big upgrade from SH5. You could not compare the logs there. So it's, for example, this view tells you everything about operating style of each station throughout the contest. Also, this view that we like to see now, in-band was 21 at KC1XX, W3LPL 22, and 24 at K3 Lima Radio. But of course, it takes time to start this, and I was showing the frequencies before. So this noise around the running stations, you can easily see who was, for example, 160 meters. There was on KC1XS, there was some in-band happening. K3LR, I guess, didn't even run on the, if I just filter the 160. They didn't make any big runs, so you can quickly understand what was happening. Am I too fast with this?
No,
Or
it's good. It's good.
It's followable.
Yep.
So let's make another view. I think I saw Gary here, W1 Golf Delta here. So let's see his operating. So you get all the logs, everything doesn't matter, and then you have this this tool also loads the results from CQWW webpage. So you have this competitor coach here. So I'll say zone 5 and same category, and Gary will be here, W1GD. He was number 26 in this view. So maybe he would like to compare himself to K1AR that was just above him. So I will load this to log B. And then I will load, for example, NN1SS. He's, I think, nearby, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I will log this to log C. And now let's go to the log comparison to see this 10 minute breaks. And you can easily study where did you make mistakes, who was good, who was bad, and maybe learn something from that.
Hey, Simon, have you considered applying AI to these logs and with a question of how can I improve my score on the different bands?
Yeah,
You know, some sort of analysis from an AI perspective.
I have. The tool is free and AI costs money, so I was not able to implement it to be public. But I have it in the pipeline to maybe somehow make it possible that the website calls your private AI or your AI on the computer, or you provide some credentials, and then you study this.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah, there is also this spots here. This will load the classical spots of the in this date. So it was 29th of November and 30. So you can see how your rate improved after the spots, who spotted you, whatever. You have hundreds of studies here.
Nice.
And also, as this is a CW contest, you can also load RBN spots, and then you will also have these comparisons, how you were spotted, when, number of spots, all sorts of. It takes a while to load because our RBN spots are more. But for example, you can easily see where the station was calling CQ and how it progresses through the. And who spotted you, and when you were good, and so on. So many things to study.
Very nice.
Yeah. Why we decided to include this in our TK0 presentation, it was partly because we can, and partly because we wanted really to show you that there is a lot of data hidden in the old contest logs, and this tool really can help you understand it. I'll provide the link once again in the chat, but it's basically fairly easy. So sierra53mike.com/sh6. Make a bookmark and spread the word.
Yep. Already in there.
Yeah. So Robi, the focus go back to you.
You're gonna check my radiator fluid today, and
Hang on.
we're not
Somebody should be on the mute.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
work today. Today might be a good day to do
Low
it.
mill, you could QRT.
Okay.
And
That's good to know for me.
Yeah, it's
Okay, so
always a problem
all right,
with
he's
the
muted, he's
radiator
muted.
fluids. They can leak.
Okay, he's muted.
Okay, let's continue.
So how do I cancel sharing? Maybe Robbie, you can take over. I'll stop share. I can see it now. Okay.
I did. Do you see my presentation now?
Yeah, he's already switched it.
Yeah,
Okay.
we do.
So the question, so that this so inbound operation. Okay, inbound operation it's technically very challenging, right? Now, if you are following the wireless communication scene, you could hear about full duplex methods of communication. Full duplex, that was introduced in 2011 or something by a spin-off company from Stanford. It was called Kumo Networks. And they were claiming that you can transmit and receive at the same channel. So they were targeting Wi-Fi and mobile gears, right? They were saying, we know how to make it work when you transmit and receive at the same frequency channel. Now, if I would pitch this to you, I would say nonsense. It's impossible, right? Because we operate in TDD mode. Either you transmit or you receive. So you don't try to do both at the same time, because you know you can't, right? Because, I mean, you can't. You think you can't, but in theory you can, right? In theory you can do it. And those guys from Kumo, they were building prototypes and showing that it's possible, but it's very, very hard, right? It's very hard, even for the Wi-Fi kind of gears where you can tolerate some interference and so on. It's not that easy to make it work. Now, the in-band principle here of this synchronized interleaved QSOs is actually very similar to the full duplex mode. Okay, we don't operate at the same frequency, but we operate at a very close frequency. Right? Let's say 20 kilohertz away from your run frequency, and we operate very high power. So it's not like Wi-Fi with 10 milliwatts. We operate very high powers. We operate in very narrow channel on the receive side, so our threshold, receive threshold signal are very, very low, right? So, and then we have this rule posed by the contest committee, right? All the antennas needs to be in a circle of less than 500 meters diameter. And then the question comes, how can you really do this, right? Can you really do it? Can you make it work, right? So how much isolation actually you need? And if you start looking into this, right? I put two signal level scales. The left side is for transmit, right side is for receive, right? On the transmit side, we operate at 62 dBm. And on the receive side, we limited by the noise, okay, by the thermal noise. And let's say we talk CW, and we take that we have this channel band of 500 hertz. It doesn't matter even if you take 300 hertz or 1 hertz, you'll get to the same numbers. So your thermal noise is in this 500 hertz is at -147 dBm. You transmit at 62 dBm, so that's more than 200 decibels difference. But then you have your, okay, then on the transmit side, we said we are not transmitting on the same frequency. We're transmitting 20 kilohertz away. So 20 kilohertz away, we are not transmitting 62 dBm strong signal, but we are still transmitting some signal, right? This signal is a noise, it's a transmit noise, is the TX signal to noise ratio or TX composite noise or however you call it. You would transmit some noise, which is actually, as you would know, offset dependent, right? Close to the carrier, it's higher, way you go, it starts dropping. While on the receive side, you have your receiver, which has some noise figure. It gets you to the MDS, to the minimum discernible signal level of your transceiver of the gear. Then you have your antenna noise figure, right? Because the noise is really not coming from your receiver, but it's coming from the antenna, from the universe. And then you have receiver. Then here is our S9 signal, right? -73. And then S9 plus 60 dB is here. S9 plus 60, we know it's very, very strong signal. And then we have impairments of our receiver, right? Reciprocal mixing dynamic range. It's a number which is given for a particular receiver. Then you have a blocking dynamic range. And then you have the smoke level, right, which is not tested and it's not even declared. But I took 200 milliwatts. I didn't try it, but I would say that most of modern receivers would survive 100 milliwatts or 200 milliwatts, maybe even more, because they have some protection circuit in there. They stop receiving at that point, but you will not at least burn the receiver. Now, how does it, what numbers you get out if you start this calculation? Because you want to know how much isolation you need between the RAN and in-band antenna. Let's take one example for 40 meters. Let's say we use FTDX101 as a in-band and RAN station. We operate with a legal limit, 62 dBm. At 20 kilohertz offset, we transmit minus 45 dBm in 500 hertz of a noise. Right, minus 45 dBm of a noise is 5.9 plus 30 dB. Right, if minus 73 is 5.9 is S9, so that would be S9 plus 30 dB. Very strong noise we do transmit there. On the receive side, okay, we have a 22 dB of noise figure of the receiver when the preamplifier is off. I took 40 dB for noise from the antenna, at least on Corsica, the numbers would be like that. So you would have this level of noise, which is composition of the antenna noise and reciprocal mixer noise that would increase this noise by 1 dB. So if you take the blocking dynamic range you put from the MDS, and then reciprocal mixing level you would take so that it increases your overall noise from the antenna by 1 dB. So these are two levels on the receive side which are showing your upper signal level of your carrier, of the nearby carrier of the RAN antenna. Now, when you have these numbers here, you can start calculating the needed isolation. So you take the lower number on the top for the carrier, 62 minus 10 in this case, so you need 52 dB of isolation, not to overdrive or not to make your receiver go wild because of strong signal 20 kilohertz away. And then on the bottom side, you want that your noise, transmit noise, which is S9 plus 30, does not degrade your sensitivity. So with 61 dB of isolation here, you would just get 3 dB of noise increase because of the local TX noise of the RAN station. And vice versa, of course. If you use FTDX101 on RAN and in-band, when in-band transmits, it creates the same level of degradation also to the RAN operator. And then if you take, you should always check where is your smoke level. So whenever you install RAN and in-band antennas, you make your first measurement of isolation, which should be always more than 40 dB. And if you have rotatable antennas, you rotate them to get to the worst case isolation, right? Because unless you put some restrictions on rotating the antennas, take care that in any position of the antennas, you never cross the 42, 45 dB of isolation. Otherwise, you can make some damage there. And then you take the largest number, right? You take the largest number, and for the 40 meters in Corsica, for example, for us, using these stations, 61 dB. We need 61 dB of isolation. And another example, just to show you how this scales with frequency, is 15 meters, right? On 15 meters, what's different is the antenna noise, right? Antenna noise is much lower. It took 18 dB, which is 22 dB less than on 40 meters. So you can instinctively conclude that you will need 22 dB more isolation between the antennas, and that's really how it is. You need 82 dB. You need 82 dB of isolation in this case, so 20 dB more. 28 megahertz is even worse. Now, so here are some numbers which I calculated for TK0C location. I said, okay, we can tolerate 3 dB noise increase. So which for the contest shouldn't be a problem, not even on 160 meters, I would say. And here are some numbers, right? 65, 62, 77, 84, 88 dB for 28, as we said. Very large numbers. Why are these very large numbers? Because if you look what is the free space loss at 500 meters, right? And what's the gap? Even if you deploy all what the rules allows you to go 500 meters away, you still have a gap of 33 dB, right? You still need to get these dBs somewhere in. And then that's not all, right? So this is just the free space between two small vertical antennas, but then you have gains of your antennas. If these are Yages or whatever, which will increase the gain, increase the signal level. Now, if you turn them in some different direction, the radiation pattern will help you, and you can decrease this isolation. So it's a multi-parameter optimization, I would say. And then, of course, you would know if you go half the space, your free space loss is 6 dB less. So the question comes: how can you make the isolation between the antennas in this level, in this range, so that your in-band operation can really be synchronous interleaved, right? Because if you cannot achieve this kind of isolations, then whenever in-band goes on transmit, it will raise the noise maybe by 20 dB or something. It actually makes run receiver deaf and vice versa. And then you're not the BSIQ type of in-band. You're just regular in-band. When in-band goes to transmit, the run is deaf. It doesn't do anything, right? So how we get to that? So actually, we at least we in Corsica, we're using I call them isolation tuning knobs. So we use polarization, and we get something like 10, maybe 20 dB is the optimistic number here, 10 to 15 dB on polarization. We carefully choose the orientation of the antennas and also where the nulls are. We are happy, or we have luck to have some supporting terrain there that we can do some shielding with the terrain, and by optimal placement of the antennas. For example, this is our terrain profile. So here is on the left side, here's a house, and here we have this monoband Yages 3, 4, 5 element, which are about 20. Yeah, there's about 12 meter on the 12 meter poles. So this will be a transmit antenna. And then some 80 meters away, there is a shore of the sea. We put VDAs, and actually, only the top, I would say, the top few centimeters of VDA would have a visible site with the Yagi antenna. So we get some shielding here from the terrain. And we get this polarization discrimination of 10 to 15 dB or something. And further on, the VDA is a vertical dipole array. It's actually dipole plus reflector, so it has a null in the back. It has a null in the back, right? And if you make a proper placement of the antennas, then you can deploy also this null, right? The VDA and the beam, they are oriented south-north, right? All of our activity centers are in north hemisphere, so north hemisphere. So we radiate on north, and if we put VDA and beams on this axis north-south, then the null of the VDA front and back null can help increase the isolation between the antennas. Now the polarization discrimination is something which you can only actually do if you can get close to the sea, right? Because only when you get close to the sea, the vertical polarized antennas perform well, or perform as well as horizontally polarized antennas over the Earth. And I want to stress this again, because if you want to make use of in-band operation with this 1 BSIQ operation, you really have to have good in-band antennas, not just something. They really have to be good. And if you are close to the sea, you put vertically polarized antennas close to the sea, and they perform as good as 3-element Yagi, for example, at 12 meters. On every band, right? We are not talking only 80 meters or 40 meters, also on 10 meters. You put 10-meter VDA close to the sea, and you won't notice a big difference in signal levels as compared to 5-element Yagi. It's about 5-6 dB of gain difference, but it's very good antenna, right? Now you can't, so you cannot really. Let's say this is our benefit somehow, right? So we can do this, and we understand that if you have a fixed setup somewhere, you cannot have a fixed setup on a beach, right? So this will always be kind of a field day style of operation. And there are two basic antenna setups. We deploy both of them on three higher bands, right? We have run antennas, which are in this case 3-element on 20, 4-element on 15, and 5-element on 10. They're all about 12 meters above the ground. And run antenna is run operator actually transmits and receives on these antennas. And then for the in-band, we have these VDAs about this, we send about 90 meters away at the seashore. And when we have also the second in-band, we place another Yagi, 3-band Yagi, or spider beam, some 200 to 250 meters away. And that would be in-band 2. And you transmit and receive. In-band always transmit and receive on that antenna. The other setup, which is much more efficient actually, is the classical 160 and 80 setup, right? You have one transmit antenna and you receive on beverages. When you transmit on beverage antenna, you can have as many receivers as you want, right? So we use this setup on 3 lower bands. 160 is not right. We transmit on inverted tail. 80 meters we transmit on vertical. We never receive on these antennas. It's always just for transmit. And we use beverages there for the receiver. And then in, I don't know when, in 2022, I believe or 2021, we said, okay, why wouldn't we do the same principle also for 40 meters? Because it really adds flexibility when doing in-band. And so we said, okay, we'll dedicate 2-phase verticals just for transmit, oriented to the north. And then we use another 2-phase verticals, one oriented to the west, one to the east for receive only. And then when you have this receive antennas, you can have split. I show 1 to 2 split, or you can have 1 to 3, 1 to 4. So you can have many receive stations receiving here. And we always put a local CW schema receiver as well here. So if we just check how does this look in real dimensions in our site at Corsica. So this is the house where we operate. There is the shack. We have those 3 poles around for the 3 Yagis, and then, as I said, about 90 to 95 meters away on the shore, there are these 3 VDAs exactly to the north. And measured isolations on these three bands. So between 60 or 70 to 95, 80. So it does depend on the rotation of on the angle of these Yagi antennas where they are oriented, right? It also depends. We saw that when there's a high wind, you can have moving VDA, so the back lobe, the back null of the RP is changing a bit and so on. And so you can see that it's possible to get this 88 dBs, but not always. And it's not easy. It's not easy at all. Then on 40 meters, as I said, we have these 2 verticals which are oriented to the north. They're actually on the shore, some 4 or 5 meters above the sea, used for TX only. And then we install another pair of 2-phase verticals. One goes to the east and one for the US. And the isolation between them, so isolation of the receive antennas toward the transmit antenna is something that we try to improve every year. The isolation between North and US antennas is very good, and actually in this you can count to 2 kilohertz away from the run frequency, and you still don't notice that there's somebody running 2 kilohertz away with 1 kW, and it's very good isolation. Now with on the east side, it's not that good. We haven't figured out yet how to improve this isolation here. And then we also use a Foursquare here just for multipliers when we need to beam in other directions. And this one is not having very good isolation to this receive antenna, so we don't use it much, right? The Foursquare is mostly used when you would like to call some multiplier somewhere outside of the northern hemisphere. And then 116, 180, the transmitter antennas are close to the shack. They're also close to the sea. And then we use normally 3 beverages, one for Japan, one for US, one for EU. Sometimes we use also high Z Foursquare, but we found out that it's too much effort for too low gain. So we just use beverages, which are very good, but very low tech antennas, right? So we lay here 400 meters of cable. We go all the way on the shore and here around and up 400 meters of a cable for these 2 antennas. Actually, last year we also put one PY directed one and one for Africa, and then we have a switch, a remotely controlled switch where you can choose between EU, PY, and Africa beverage. And the isolations here are also very good on 1.8, at least to this EU, to the USA and Japan. It's not that good to EU because EU is actually beaming in the direction of it's short beverage and it's beaming in the direction of the vertical, so it's too low isolation to say, right? The noise increases too high for efficient work. Now, if you don't have a sea around to play with vertical polarized antennas, what can you do, right? This is a question of many stations here in Europe asking, how can we do in-band and get enough isolation even within these 500 meters? So normally here in Europe, we have two directions, 2 important directions, which are actually 90 degrees apart. So one JNN North America, they are 90 degrees apart. And if you look at the radiation pattern of the Yagi antenna, there is a natural null at 90 degrees, right? This is it's by design. Now, let's say you have a stack, 2 Yagis, one oriented to North America, one to Japan here as a RAM stack. So how can you get most of isolation out of this? So you go something like 200 meters away, and you put an antenna which is fixed, let's say fixed in-band antenna for North America. It beams there, and you count on this null, 90 degree null, to increase the isolation to the RAN antennas. And then you also, for the North America RAN, you have this null in this direction, and for Japan, you have front to back. So it's good to, if you can have a design of Yagi which has a good front to back ratio, for example. And then you would have another in-band antenna for Japan and EU direction, which would be just exploring this 90 degree null in the other side. Sorry. And some stations actually are starting to play with this. So this is an in-band antenna at 9 Alpha 1 Papa. They installed this antenna just for the contest, so it's field day style. And actually, they go in the back of the RAN towers, and they install this 3-bander there, and they try to make the good isolation. I didn't yet get the isolation numbers from them, but we'll see how this works. Okay, and then what's this? Okay, another. Okay, this is the last part of it. The last part of this is the when you have two in-band stations, right? When you have two in-band stations, so this is something what we learned hard time. So we, I don't know which year it was. We said, okay, we will put up two in-band stations. When you put two in-band stations, it means you have three sets of antennas, and the isolation between them needs to be of those 80, 60, and 80 dBs between each of them, between RAN and in-band 1, between RAN and in-band 2, and between in-band 1 and in-band 2, if you want to really run smooth interleaved QSO. So because of the C and the vertical polarization, we are able to do this actually. We put this in-band 2 antenna about 200 meters away. We take care of how we take care that it's properly oriented and so on. Then I would say immediately in 30 minutes of when we started the contest, we found out that there's one glitch which is problematical, right? And the problematical is when you have a in-band station, let's say in-band station here starts soliciting the QSO. So it transmits to its correspondent. The correspondent transmits a report to you as in-band. And now, if at this time the in-band needs to transmit its report to that correspondent, right? It needs to have this slot available. And now it happened many times that during this time slot, the in-band 2 would start transmitting, and it would actually block or it would kill the sequence of the in-band 1, right, operator. And that happened, as I said, in first 30 minutes, I believe it was the first such a case. And then we saw that it's very it creates a tension between operators and also on the other side to the correspondent, because he doesn't get the reply,
Right.
because he needs to wait for another two periods, right?
Right.
Yeah, and then we said, okay, we need to do something here. We invented this ping pong mode, right? We said a RAN needs to have a priority in obtaining his rhythm of TXRX periods. So when the in-band gets to transmit, the next station to transmit can only be RAN, not as in this case here. It's not allowed that RAN transmits in one period, in-band on second, and in-band on the third period. So this is not allowed. And this we have a hardware. It's a hardware. Hardware enforced, right?
Yep.
So it goes like that. So it's RAN, in-band 1, RAN. Then after RAN, it can go in-band 2. But then again, only RAN. And then in-band 1, RAN. So in this way, you still need some synchronization between the in-band 1 and in-band 2 operator, but it's much less problematical. It's much less problematical. Because with this ping pong mode, we call it ping pong mode, you can take care that the in-band, when he starts making a QSO, he also finishes that QSO. So this is like a graphical representation, like you were playing ping pong, one operator against two, or one competitor against two competitors. It's always one side turn for hitting the ball.
Okay, Robbie, how are we doing on slides? How many more slides do you have here?
No, I'm finished.
Oh, great.
I'm finished. And if you have any questions, you can ask.
So this year you did CR3A. Oh, that was WPX, right?
Yeah,
that was WPX. Yeah, that was for fun.
It was part of the team, and we were just invited and were able to operate from Madeira.
Right.
Right.
It was just three of us.
All right. Any other questions? Guys, I really appreciated that. I really soaked up a lot of those technical details. I really like that stuff. I'm already on your SH6 site. This is all great stuff. I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your middays, probably close to evening. Really excellent presentation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Excellent work.
And thank you for the many QSOs in all the years. Looking forward to many more.
Yeah.
We'll try and find another 5,000 for you so you can set the new world's record.
Excellent. Okay,
We'll see.
your guest,
Okay.
your host is already signed out. He had another commitment. Rudy's gone, but again, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Take
you.
care.